Namaskar and welcome. We understand that information and communication technology plays a significant role in development, especially in developing countries. Well, there's also a problem with implementing projects with information and communication technology because there's resistance to change, especially in some of the traditional sectors, let's say in agriculture or in healthcare, where systems are in place which are outdated and perhaps people don't want to move towards better and more efficient methods, and e-governance as well. Well, to discuss the impact that information and communication can have on a society like India, we are privileged to have with us Mr. Janis Karklins, who's the Assistant Director General of Communication and Information at the United Nations Education, Science and Cultural Organization. Thanks very much, sir, for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
First of all, let's look at India. We are a country which is 1.2 billion people, difficult to manage. We have so many different systems of governance, and there is this whole business of e-governance. It can't be thrust upon our country in a sense, isn't it? There have been many methods, there have been many models in place, but we still follow a lot of traditional methods of governance which are difficult to change.
Actually, e-governance is meant to help citizens of the country to access governmental services. That's the origin of the term e-governance. And by putting in place e-governance systems, the first beneficiaries are ordinary people who, instead of going and spending hours in lines in government offices, can access the same services, request the same information by sitting at home in front of their computer. I think that there is just a question of a will to put that in place, and the question of a team who is setting up e-governance systems. And there are many good examples in the world, and I know that also in India there are a number of e-governance systems in place which are very successful.
E-governance will take place in a natural way is what one would think, because a generation changes and the newer generation is already clued into information technology. It's the older generation that's in charge currently who are not quite technology savvy, one would say. So in that sense, would you think that it's just going to be a natural process?
I think that it will be a natural process, but if you want to accelerate the process, some investments and encouragement is needed. And I had the opportunity today visit several ministries in Delhi, and we were talking about India's national digitization program, which aims at putting online accessible the digital records and also analog records which are digitized for the use of population. And I think that this is a very good example how technology can serve ordinary people.
Well, we also have quite an ambitious project called the Aadhaar, or the UID scheme, the Unique Identity Card scheme. Of course, with a country of 1.2 billion people, it's not easy to have a unique identity for, to map it. But once it's done, it'll be pretty good. And we also have the smart card system for, to some of our subsidies get directly transferred to below poverty line people who have smart cards. So there are these initiatives. But some feel that, the problem is that those who are using it don't actually understand the technology. It's difficult to bridge that divide.
I think in a sense, the system design is important. And these e-governance systems should be designed in a way that they are very simple. At least the interface between the user and the system is simple and understandable. And if that is the case, then usually people use these systems easily and with pleasure.
Right. If you look at some of the examples, in other countries that are successful, let's say, the developed world as well, is it because, they had resources? Because some of the developing countries, even India, for instance, there's a lack of resources in trying to public funds to put into these sectors, which, so that you can get the immediate benefits, and perhaps political will suffers because of that. How does one overcome these kind of challenges?
I think with the information sharing, information sharing is essential in leapfrogging certain steps or phases of development. And in a sense, developing countries are in a much better position because they can leapfrog certain stages of development and put in place immediately good systems. One of the lessons what we learned from the past when these e-governance systems have been put in place was incompatibility, which means that the different registries were developed and they were not talking to each other. As a result, they were not interoperable. I mentioned at the beginning the overall design is important and the interoperability is important, and the main feature of the good system is that you can enter information only once, and then this information is accessible from different points and depending on the needs. So as a result, these are integrated systems, and developing countries which are putting these systems in place now can start with a very good understanding on the system design and put in place already integrated systems.
Well, I mean, if we look at some of the other sectors which are not quite government, but government plays a significant role. Let's take agriculture, for instance. Our country has so many farmers and is dependent on agriculture, but people say that ICT can help in improving the productivity. And there have been many models that have been tried, but they've not been sustainable because perhaps, language has been a barrier, also technology has been a barrier. People don't understand enough of what they're receiving, and even mobile phones now, it's difficult to get to, to understand and assimilate the. So when you talked about the product design, is it, one size fits all is not possible? How does one try and adapt for the different parts of the country, different kinds of models?
I think you should not underestimate individuals. The difference between the, let's say, traditional communication systems, meaning telephone system, is that intelligence of the system is in the middle. And as a result, there are a limited number of people who are working on the system design. Internet and modern technologies, which are based on internet, places intelligence not in the middle, but on the margins of the system, on the border of the system. As a result, everybody who is using the system can innovate and can propose a service or application. And that's why I said that you should not underestimate individual user. You need to empower user, you need to encourage user to produce products and services or applications what fits their needs. And these are the best products. If you're talking about agriculture, one needs to encourage those agriculturers, the producers, farmers, or their kids who are very smart and technology savvy, to work on the applications which suits their needs. And then they know what they need, and that type of services are the ones which pull out country from poverty and contribute to development. Look at Kenya. Kenya was the first country who invented a payment system with mobile phones, and not with the smartphones, but with the ordinary, the simplest mobile phones. You see, that is a good example how ordinary people, ordinary users can make a difference.
So you're talking about building a knowledge society and everyone contributing, and it's basically each one talking to one another and sort of building information. But also, I mean, there is a problem that much of the information that filters down comes in, there's a language problem. Would you see that, local languages in India, for instance, there are a lot of languages which are not even, some of them don't even have scripts. So how does one deal with information technology then?
Yeah, I think India is a very, very interesting case in terms of multilingualism. I don't know any other country with so many official languages and with so many languages spoken. with so many scripts used. And Indian government and Indian internet community is working very hard to address those issues. India lately received or introduced internationalized domain names on country code level, and what is traditionally known .in, .india, now, if I'm not mistaken, is available in 6 other different scripts. Though it's beginning, but it is coming. And that was a very strong push from Indian government to get those internationalized domain names in different scripts and introduce them. So languages are a very important part of national identity or cultural identity of people, and therefore internet community does everything to promote and sustain multilingual internet. UNESCO also is working in that direction, right. And we're contributing to resolution of this very important problem.
Well, all the information that is available on the net, I mean, it can be utilized for good and bad as well. You know, I mean, you're talking about freedom of press and expression on the net, which is also one of your mandates, and we see that in some societies, a lot of servers that are, you know, outside particular countries host web information which is you know, anti-national in some sense, and can cause problems within the state. How does one deal with freedom of that kind of expression?
I think there are a couple of fundamental principles we need to follow. The digital world is not